Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of GBC Live. We are excited to talk again about the Grizzly Gravel and Century charity rides. And I don't think we actually got as much last time we had Tony on into the charity part, but I do know that I think all the proceeds go towards helping out some off-road organizations in the area. He will have the details on that. But as everyone is waiting to come in, just quickly, Vic and I and Bill and everyone else, we've been glued to the internets the last few, I guess for us since Friday night, but just about a half hour before we had we've just come live. Just wanted to show our friend Jace had just finished the Badlands and in Spain. It was over 500 miles. He only stopped for about 13 hours, did it in, I guess you could see there, 2 days, 20 hours. Remarkable. Looked like he had a broken spoke. If you've been on the Thank Gravel It's Friday rides, he's out there leading them here in SoCal and also our Catalina ride. So amazing achievement here by Jace. And, I just have to go ahead and anyway, so let's bring the whole crew in and say hello. And boom, boom, boom. Hello, Tony. Hello, Victor.
That's for Jace.
Now, Tony, I get your last name right about 90% right.
Well, you spelled it right on the announcement that you had up on the internet about this interview, so that's rare.
Yes, I definitely went back, and it was I had to hire a research team because there's a lot of cross-referencing because I've made a lot of mistakes in the past. But it's Inderbitzin, right?
Correct.
Now that I've got it and I say it, it's one of those things like it's so magical when you say it right and with confidence.
Yeah.
Because it's got a lot of eclectic letters in there. So
yeah, it's so frustrating to sign though. My signature's real sloppy. You can kind of make out an A and an I because my real name's Anton. So an AHI and then it's a squiggle. And I remember years ago when we bought our house in Newhall, they wanted to see my whole name, all in cursive. And I don't write that way. And I think we had to sign, I don't know, like 2 sets of documents. It was forever. Anton Hubert Inderbitzin Jr. It's a lot of letters. Thank goodness now, lately we just sold a house in Tennessee and everything that was done with electronic signatures on eDocs and stuff, and it was click here, and you don't even produce a sample signature. It's bizarre, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I do enough virtual riding that it's weird that I talk about actual riding sometimes. So strange world. So people go ahead, add your comments. We already have one from Josh. We'll share in a little bit. Has a little thank you to you, Tony, but I'll bring it up in a second. But so Vic and I did it a couple years ago, and I think we're probably going to be there scheduling notwithstanding. But I'm clearing the gateway to make sure I can make it out.
I hope so.
But I do have a little bit of a dilemma on this event in that this time I'm kind of like, do I do the road? Do I do the gravel? Because it's gorgeous up there. I know that the gravel course is not the same one that we did 2 years ago.
It's got a little bit added on, a little diversion here and there, but for the most part, it's the same ride you did. There's, I think, probably 5 extra miles in there, and it's nice, but I would say, since you've never done the Century, it's a gorgeous Century. I mean, I'm not a roadie, but every time I'm up working on that, I'm in awe looking at creation. It's just spectacular up there. and there's really no. I went up yesterday, so yesterday's what Labor Day, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll bet I didn't have 12 cars go by. And
Wow.
Labor Day, that's kind of the end of the season up there. So over the course of the next month, I mean, when I've ridden it before, as part of the event before I started running it, about the only cars you'd see up there would be the SAG cars, and every now and then maybe a Forest Service employee driving by. But the road is spectacular now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's when you leave town, there's a stretch before you get to the trailer park once the first significant climb starts. And right there, it's new pavement. And it's new pavement for 50 miles. So they did actual pavement for about 10 miles. And then after that, it's that chip seal, which they staged all these chips last year, early in the spring, I guess. And so as I'm getting ready to do the Grizzly, I was up there, I want to say the weekend before, and I brought my cans of paint to mark all the potholes and whatnot. Gosh, all the potholes are filled. This is great. The road hadn't been in that nice a condition. There's no debris on the road from falling trees or branches. It was an easy day. Came back about a day or two later. A couple of my committee members had gone up the scenic byway and said, "Man, Tony, you got to get up here." They started chip sealing. This was on a Tuesday, and they'd done about 5 miles. And some of those chips, I had a picture of my Vans tennis shoes, and if I put my foot on the chips and slid forward maybe an inch, the loose chips were up over the little white ring, or the bumper guard on the thing. So I thought, oh man, this is a big problem. So we ended up doing a reroute, and we kind of went backwards and cut out that whole section, probably the first 40 miles. So we got to the same point that you would get to in 40 miles, but we did it backwards. And then we continued on the way the normal Grizzly is going this year. But climbing up that Basor Road in that opposite direction, it's an MFer. And some people, a lot of the local riders, I've never actually, I can't say I've never done. I did it about 13, 14 years ago, I guess, prepping for the death ride. And it didn't seem as, I was a lot younger, I guess, so it didn't seem that bad. But I did it the other day. I did like half of it. I was like, man, it wasn't fun. And so there were a lot of people that complained about it, but a lot of local riders, they love that climb. It's a little steeper, and there's really no recovery in it. It's 13 miles of up. So luckily we don't have that problem, and all that pain and suffering of the chip seals from last year are paying off this year, because the road is spectacular. I went up there, like I say, yesterday. I found one pothole. Since there's only one, I'm probably just going to take some cold patch and dump it in there myself rather than paint it. But it's nice. It's a beautiful ride.
As you can see, I believe Vic is still in France, and he's been doing.
Wow.
I mean, like probably did like Mont Ventoux, which is 13 miles, so it shouldn't be a problem for Vic. But really, I guess that was my only hesitation about doing the Century, was if Vic would be willing to do a Century up there.
Well, my question was going to be, what's the weather like at that time?
Well, the weather's always, I can't say always good, but like last year, it was hotter than normal, which was tough because you're going up that steep climb. Mm-hmm. So the climbing on this side, going up the normal way, it's broken up into, the first significant climb is about 4 miles, and then there's a bunch of junk miles in there, rolling. Then you got about a 1.5 mile climb on Fish Creek, junk miles, and then a small climb out of Fish Creek, junk miles, and then you got a significant climb up to Mile High, which overlooks Mammoth Pool. And so it breaks it up, so you have some recovery in there. Going the other way, there was just no recovery.
So the
Mhm.
big climb you're talking about, is it switchbacks, or is it just like a slog straight up a mountain road? That makes
There's not switchbacks. No, it's a slog straight up the road. It's not that bad, but there is 10,000 feet of climbing, so it starts building on you.
Well, let me just bring it. We'll bring it up to the stage here right now, since we're talking a lot about it. And
So
I haven't gotten in. Huh?
is this year's map?
I believe it is. Yes.
Okay.
So the red should be. I don't have the mileage markers on the red, and I guess it's probably harder to see. But the red is the Century Ride, and the yellow is the gravel. And if you go ahead and look at our page,
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing
there,
that now. Right.
you know, uh, and I think what I did here was the difference in between the one that we did 2 years ago and the one that's the route for this year is this little green part, kind of like closed off that loop, whereas now you kind of have that little extra gravel that kind of goes.
Yeah.
And we had talked about that, I guess, 2 years ago, that when we were kind of like heading through this part, I was like, wow, how come
Yeah,
we
you were
didn't
on the other
go on
side of
that
that
road?
canyon. You were on the other side of that canyon. It said something in your video that, wow, I wonder what's on that other side. And it's an awesome view. You look down there into the canyon, Willow Creek, and there's pools of water. Springtime, the water's really, really going. Now it's going okay. You know, down in there, it's dropping quickly, but it's beautiful there.
Yeah. So that's another angle that I don't mind covering, because it did look pretty gorgeous. And I guess the one thing. So, anyways, you can walk us here through the Century, and I know it starts a little bit early. You know, it starts at 7:30 in the morning, so it's another way of beating
No,
the
the
heat.
Century's at 7.
Oh, it's 7. Okay,
7, yeah.
even better. But so it kind of like wraps around the hill instead of directly going into it, I guess, kind of, or hill, mountain.
Yeah.
The gravel, but it definitely looks like it does gradually climb. And is this a reservoir here that it overlooks? This is probably about mile 25.
Yeah, mile 25. Yeah, that is Mammoth Pool.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the San Joaquin River. It's dammed up. That's, during the creek fire, there was a bunch of helicopter rescues there. People that were camped there, they actually had to go into the water to escape the heat and the flames. So it's a beautiful lake, all granite around it. Granite, it's a really gorgeous lake. For some reason this year they had the boat launch ramp closed all summer, but that lake spills down and into where the $1 Million Mile is, right?
Oh yeah,
that's a different ride. So that all that water below the $1 Million Mile, that's coming out of that lake, and it goes down to the lake I live on, which is Redinger Lake, which is the first lake when you're climbing up on the Century, kind of the first scenic byway stop that you would make if you were just driving around sightseeing, and you're on your bike, so you're sightseeing too. So there's a little pull out there, a little kiosk placard that tells you what you're looking at, and stuff like that. And you look down and see my house there, for what that's worth.
And the center of California too is somewhere
Yeah.
Is probably just right off the road here.
Yep.
Now the one thing that intrigues me was last year when we were doing Mammoth Tough, and we were doing our little pre-ride over there, and you were like, yeah, look across, my home is about 40 miles away. And I was just like, what is he talking about? But really, like, when I measured the distance between Lake Mammoth, it is really close, and it's just pretty remarkable, the connection between Mammoth and how close this actually is. just
Yeah,
the other
it's
side.
crazy. Our county actually goes up to Devil's Postpile. So on the other side of the hill, there's this little finger of Madera County, and apparently we've got some sort of a sheriff's substation up there out of Mammoth that they, I don't know, they go up there and do whatever they do. But yeah, there's actually a hiking trail that I guess you can go there. I think it's a 35-mile hike. One of the guys on my committee has done that.
Yeah, and like I guess zooming in here, like you've got Mammoth Mountain here to the left, so you can definitely see that you can see part of the route from the Eastern Sierra, and we were, I guess, somewhere around here, looking over when you said that. So it's just remarkable how connected it is. Unfortunately, it isn't a 40-mile drive for you to make it over.
It's if you're lucky, Tioga Pass is open, and then it's only about, I don't know, 3 hours to get to what's 35 miles away. Yeah, every now and then I'll Google something, or or MapQuest something, or the GPS, and the very first thing says 20 miles away. I think, all right, well, I don't need a lot of time to get there, but I don't select the go thing that tells you about how to drive there. It's telling you how far the crow flies there. So,
Wow, big difference.
Yeah, it is a big difference because they're mountain miles. They're not simple miles.
Well, still, like when we looking here at the Strava route here, that kind of like when you get to that top part here, you are about at 7,000 feet above sea level, and you're starting at about 3. So this gradual climb that kind of gets you to this point where you're probably closest to Mammoth Lakes. At least it looks like once you've kind of gotten to the halfway point, most of the climbing is done.
Yeah.
There's some little bumps, but like you're not like
once you get to Arch Rock, I would say the significant climbing is done.
Mm-hmm.
So the way this is the 30th year. So the way it's always gone is you go up that scenic byway or Minarets Road. We call it Mammoth Pool Road too. And you go up about 40 miles, and you normally take a left and go up Grizzly Road eventually. But since it's a century, to get the mileage from Grizzly Road, you continue another 10 miles up Minarets Road to Arch Rock, and then turn around and come back down. So you gain that elevation. There's some pretty good climbs in there that can be a little painful late in the day. And so you're coming back, and then you're going up the worst climb of the whole ride, which is Grizzly Road. It's steep. After the fire, at the bottom part of it, it doesn't have many trees on it, so there's a lot of sun. And if it's a warm day, it's taxing on you. There's not a lot to look at if you're looking at burned trees. I mean, you're looking at a lot of all the trees being gone, and not all the trees are gone, but a lot of them are gone. So now you're seeing these gorgeous granite domes that you never saw before because they were masked by these trees. But we've cut out Grizzly Road. For years, a lot of people kind of cut that out on their own because they all knew if they went beyond Arch Rock, another 5 miles, those were kind of flat junk miles there. You took a left on Basor Road, which you're going to end up on anyways when you're going up Grizzly. And there was 9 miles of gravel there. So people just ran a little bit bigger tire, and they rode that section on their road bike with the larger tires all the way into Basor. And eventually, after 9 miles, the road gets, it's paved, and you go up to Cold Springs, which was the highest point you showed on your graph there. I think that's 7,300 feet. But now that's all paved. So the scenery is way better there. You're in a part of the forest that not many people are going. There's Globe Rock, which is this large egg-shaped rock that sits on a pedestal. It's right off the road, so you don't even have to get off your bike to see it. It's formed by glacier ice melting or something wacky like that. There's Portuguese Overlook. There's Jackass Meadow. It's really nice. And that's the way I've done it. I mean, I've done it both ways, but the climbing is definitely less painful going the other way. And when you're done, you're still at 10,000 feet, which if you're a numbers guy, you want that. You don't want to, end up at 9,990 feet. You want to get to 10,000. So
I know that
friends that finish rides and they want round numbers, and so they're riding around in the parking lot or up and down the driveway to get, so.
Who would do that?
I've done that.
I do that all the time.
Yeah. So, and it's just a lot of people, they've always done it that route just because just a more pleasant ride. Now that it's all paved, all paved except the first 1.4 miles, and we should probably talk about that. So there's a bridge that washed out or actually burned up in the creek fire. And so they built the bridge. They did all out of concrete, I guess, this time. And something about the mix of the concrete, the inspector didn't like it. So the whole project kind of came to a grinding halt. Yeah. So we were promised at early in the season that this thing would be done by the end of July. And then we had a meeting, and the Forest Service says, well, they're going to need 2 more weeks. So, middle of August. And then it was the end of August. Well, this picture was taken last night, and it's not done. So I guess it still could. I've never built a bridge, so I don't know if they can knock that out in a month. Basically, it'd be great if they can, but we're not going to let that stop us. So the 1.25 miles approaching that bridge, there's some busted up asphalt. So I went up there basically to look at that to see, because I'm not a fussy. I'm a mountain biker. That's my background. I got into this gravel bike thing about 8 years ago. And so I bring those skills and that mentality to gravel biking. A lot of gravel bikers came from road riding because they're, tired of getting buzzed by cars. So they're a little more finicky about riding off road. And then the fact that this isn't really the road, or this isn't the gravel ride, this is the road ride. A lot of those guys, they've got gravel bikes anyways. So I assume that they're used to that. And if you look at this, there's a line to be picked there. This is this old, it's not really pavement, but back in the day, they would, when they were logging, they would oil the roads and pack them down to control the dust. And until somebody told me that that's not pavement, I thought it was pavement. So there's a line there that you can follow, and then you'll get to an area where it's maybe a car length long that you're bumping through the dirt, and it's not sandy dirt, it's nice hard packed dirt. There's a couple stretches that are maybe 100 yards long, and then as you approach the bridge and leave the bridge, or the creek, I should say, you probably got 150 yards of dirt that again are it's not sandy. So you could ride it. It's 100 yards. You could walk it too. So if you get, the only drag is, a lot of the road guys, they got these beautiful white shoes, so they're going to get dusty. But in this case, the juice is worth the squeeze of toughing out that 1.4 miles with, a few hundred yards of some dirt in there. And everybody runs larger tires now anyways, hopefully.
So I know a guy who absolutely would not ride that, Steve Buck. If there's dust on the road, I'm not kidding. He will not ride. It's so crazy to me how trepidatious he is if the road is dirty or even like what's that granite? What's it called?
Decomposed granite.
Yeah, like something that any bike could ride on. Like he won't do it.
Yeah, we've ridden enough places in Los Angeles that if it's that little over that amount of time, it's not that big of a deal.
No, yeah, it's not a big deal for us. But for some people, to Tony's point, they're like, oh no, dirt, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
A road bike.
So I went up there to check the dirt situation, and to be honest, I thought it was very rideable. Last year, everybody went that way. They came down, they went up Baysort and came down Grizzly Road, which must have been really fun. But then they'd gotten onto Minarets Road going up, and that chip and seal crew had already in 3 days done new chip and seal, past that, well up into the probably another 8 miles up the road until they got to a section that they hadn't got to yet. So that was the challenge we had. The people were complaining about the chip seal that was the loose chips that were there in the road. And then a few people basically complained that their shoes got dirty. I remember, I think 2 people complained about that. But, last year I was trying to make the best of a crappy hand I got dealt. And I think it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, we would.
And nobody got hurt.
Yeah, we would hear the fuss on the Facebook group if anything egregious had happened. I know you keep a high standard and you try you do a lot to really take care of people. And really, like, that's one thing I want to talk about, which, like, I don't think that anyone really does more for people. The fact that you give, like, a full breakfast before the ride, a full lunch afterwards, and also camping is included too. The night before and the night after. After the event. So I mean, that is, you get maybe little snacks here and there, like breakfast, but you can really not want to ride with all the food you supply people, and even at the aid stations. Are these enormous buffet of choices over there.
Yeah.
So for an event that is like a homegrown event, you really do take care of people there.
Well, that's a lot of that has to do with kind of the precedent that was set in the first 25 years. The guys that set that up, it used to be, it was a forest worker that started this thing. His name is Mike Nolan, and he had forestry volunteers do the post-ride meal, and they were doing the breakfast. And then eventually the Lions Club takes over the breakfast. So all the money that's going to them, Lions Club, they're doing work in the community with all that funding. Not that it's a big mountain of money, but it's something. I'm in the Rotary Club. And it's a little here, a little there, and it ends up going a long way. So,
yeah, let me. I'm gonna throw a couple comments here by Road Bike 5. There's a couple good ones. Good note about the weather. And I still think like 83 might be kind of like closer towards Bass Lake, but since you're kind of like going up in elevation, definitely probably cools down as you climb. But then also, this is a super nice note about you. It's totally awesome. That's you. You're awesome. I didn't have to say it. Somebody else said it. Included camping with all of that. So thanks much. And Josh, I'm sorry I accidentally kicked you out trying to mess with the messages here. So I'll make it up next time. Anyways, I think when people are driving up there, they don't expect the level of amenities they get, because it's not like a BWR where you see thousands of cars parked there,
Yeah. Well, once upon a time, they had a ton of riders up here, when there weren't many events going on. I think at its peak, the event had 600 cyclists. We can't get a permit authorized for that many up here now, so we're maxed out at 300. So, and the last couple of years we haven't hit 300, so I don't suspect that that's going to be an issue. I'd love to hit 300, but it is what it is. So we're just up here having a good time. Thank goodness for all our sponsors, because a lot of the money that we're donating, all the money that we're donating basically is kind of thanks to those sponsors. Whatever our donation is at the end of the year, it's almost in line with what we took in sponsorship. This year, the sponsors are down a little bit. One of them actually ended up going out of business. This company up the scenic byway called Noma Resorts, they bought these like 4 or 5 properties on both sides of the road, did all this development for a few years. And then, I contacted them about sponsoring. They said, we're closing our doors here in a day or two. And so they obviously weren't sponsoring. So we lost that. That was a big one. And then a couple others, just, the economy is not, they haven't quite recovered yet. So they're still playing catch up. But I'm just blown away by these local mom and pop businesses who, I see them in my Rotary Club, the same guys, the same businesses donating to, all these different events year long. So, 500 here, 1,000 there, $250. And for a small business, especially in a struggling economy, it speaks volumes. These guys it's just different here that, I guess, I don't know. When I was down south, my Rotary Club wasn't able to raise as much money as this one does. So, and a lot of the sponsors that I get are Rotarians or people that I've met through Rotary and business owners through Rotary. So,
well, I mean, it's, obviously you don't have an interstate going through there, which is
right.
a thing. But I mean, people who live there take a lot of pride and really enjoy in the area. And I understand the pride that people have that want to share this with other people. And obviously gravel is a great way of bringing people in. And, this is not a race, but, a ride that is a great experience, which you'll take away. Whereas sometimes you do some of these events, you're going so fast, you can't remember where exactly you were. It could have been anywhere.
Yeah. One of our biggest, newest sponsors actually is the local Indian tribe. So they've done us really well for the last 2 out of the last 3 years. Thankfully, they came on board again. With other businesses, I get while they're spending money, either it's good karma for them to increase their business, higher visibility, almost a form of advertising. But an Indian tribe, it's not like they're trying to increase the size of their tribe, but it's just all goodwill with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually hoping right down the street, like 200 yards away from the venue, they have the Mono Indian Museum. I'm hoping I can get them to come and either set a display up within the venue or open their doors down the street so that, as riders come straggling in and they're waiting for their buddies, they can go down there and kill 10 minutes, 15 minutes, wandering through. It's a small museum, but, they got some pretty neat stuff down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now let's quickly go over the gravel route for since I guess we are.
Before we do that, I want to touch on the metric century too. So the metric century normally it still follows the regular century. It used to go up about 4 miles past Mile High, and then turn around and come right back into town, right back into North Fork, and you were done. The problem with that is the other 3 routes, both gravel routes and the Loop the Lake route, they all get to stop and enjoy the free beer at Miller's Landing on their way back into town when the ride's almost done, except that the metric folks didn't. So basically the loop around the lake is about 25 miles. So I cut 25 miles or about 12 miles out of the up, thus 12 miles out of the back. So instead of going up to the turnaround was at the Shut-Eye Trail turnoff. There was a turnaround there for the metric. Now it's back at Rock Creek, which is, like I said, probably about 12 miles back. So riders on the way up, they're going to hit a rest stop and, grab some, whatever they want for breakfast, fill up water bottles. And then actually right at Rock Creek, there's a natural spring coming out of the hill, and it's ice cold water. You'd swear there's a refrigerator buried somewhere in that dirt. and it's great water. So they fill their water bottles up there, whether they're a metric rider or a century rider, and enjoy that water. And then come back and they'll hit that same rest stop that they hit on the way up, and that'll be their lunch stop. And then should they need to, as they come back down to North Fork, they can take a left and go back to Town Hall and grab something to eat or something to drink, or they can just continue at that traffic circle and make a right and then follow Road 274 up in a counterclockwise loop around Bass Lake. You know, a few miles out of town, that you'd be stopping at Miller's for. They're supposed to give you one beer, but I guess they're giving sometimes a little bit more than one. So, but you didn't hear that from me.
Oh boy. We still have to make it back.
Yeah.
The other thing. So there's still like about another 7 miles back, just to warn. It is downhill.
Yeah, it's all downhill pretty much. I think there's one little rolling uphill.
So,
okay. But the
okay,
gravel route, because this is Gravel by California.
One quick question, Chip here. 2 rest stops on the 40 miles on the gravel.
Yeah. So going up, all the gravel riders will be stopping at Whiskers Campground, which is the same place it's been for a few years now. That's going to be about 12 or 13 miles into the ride, about 8 miles up the gravel section. Mm-hmm. And then on the short gravel, the 40 mile, you're still going to continue up that opening picture you had where you're riding past that red granite dome area. Mm-hmm. Just after that, about a quarter mile after that, there's a split, and the 40 mile riders will take a left and then drop down into Francis Junction, and they'll spit back out about a mile below the rest stop, and then they'll go back down Central Camp Road, and then then they can go across the. I'm not supposed to. I can't publicize this, but the GPS map actually shows once you get back down to the road, you would take a slight left, go through a parking lot, a dirt parking lot there, and there's a dirt road that parallels the road that you rode out from Town Hall, and that's Old Central Camp Road. You ride that road down and then onto Old Central Camp Road, which is more of a road, out to the kind of the other side of the lake. But if you're going to go over to Miller's, right at the bottom of main Central Camp Road, instead of turning left, if you just go straight across the road and slightly right, but it's straight across, there's a paved road. It probably takes off at about 1:30 or 2 o'clock, I guess, as the hands on a clock are. There's a little gate you kind of got to walk around, and you're allowed with a bike, walk, whatever, to go down that road. You just keep going down across the dam. It spits you out into a parking lot. At that parking lot, you'll hit the road, take a right for about a quarter mile. Miller's is right there on the left. Enjoy your beer. Then you're welcome to either take that road back into town like all the Century Riders do and the Loop the Lake Riders do, or the way the GPS map is, you would just backtrack across the dam again, back to that same spot and catch that last little bit of gravel, and then it spits you back on the road that you would be riding if you just left Miller's and just stayed on the road.
You got all that, Zach? Because I didn't.
So there'll be a sign at the end of Central Camp Road.
Okay.
It won't say Grizzly on it. It'll say beer and an arrow right across. And usually somebody that I don't know who, they go and paint arrows, the appropriate color arrow, to get those riders across the dam.
Okay.
So we'll just a quick recap, because I remember that, when we started the ride, you just basically went up the highway until you turned up on this railroad grade. I'm not providing those sound effects.
But
I remember this long, but the long railroad grade here, it stays pretty steady the whole time.
Yeah, it's right around just as you approach Whiskers Campground, and I think in a section after that, there's a little bit of a recovery area. So there's about a mile as you approach the campground, and then probably within a couple of miles after that, there's another section where it's either flat or it's a false flat, but it just gives you some recovery. That's all railroad grade. So railroad grade typically up here, the Western and Minarets Railroad, it was a logging railroad. They ran tracks all the way up in the mountains, and they brought trees down. So those trains weren't really strong. They were strong enough to, to haul this stuff. Mostly it's hauling it downhill, right? But the grade, the percentage of grade, I guess it's usually right around 3%. Every now and then, if I look down at my Wahoo, it's showing me 4 or 5% for, I don't know, 20 yards, and then it kind of calms down again. So it's all climbing. You're going to be climbing when you leave Town Hall for 26 miles with a couple of little recovery areas. In the road going up, there's a recovery area that goes by pretty quick, kind of drops down, and then you're climbing again. And then in the dirt, you've got the one, like I said before, the Whiskers Campground rest stop, and then a little bit after that. And then you'll come back out onto Baysore Road, and you're going to climb up that last, I think it's a mile and a half or so. But that climbing's, it's cake by then. That's the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, the climbing never seems to be egregious. It's long, but it doesn't get to ever puts you in the red unless you really want to ride that.
It's not. A lot of people worry about changing gearing on their bikes. So I assume most of these folks are coming from California, and most rides here in California, for every 10 miles, you're going to gain 1,000 feet. So I think everyone's kind of got their bike set up that way. And that's all 5 of these rides are true to that rule of thumb. If you're doing a 60-mile ride, I think, the long gravel ride is, I think it's a tick over 6,000 feet of climbing over that 60 miles. So, and the short gravel, same thing.
I mean, when Vic and I did it, like once you hit the aid station here at the top, like you're kind of amazed how much downhill you get because you don't think that you've put in that much climbing.
It's a lot of downhill. It's the dirt downhill is about 6 miles, and then you get onto you turn onto Sky Ranch Road, and you'll think you're on pavement, but that's that oil-packed dirt from a bazillion years ago. And that's pretty nice for a while. And then about the time you get to that big flat meadow, that SoCal meadow, you'll kind of have to turn around and look to the right to see that as you go by. And you'll pass through a sign that you're leaving the forest, and then about a quarter mile, you're entering the forest again. So that's some sort of private property there. But that's a spectacular meadow. Mm-hmm. People got to stop and take a picture there.
The climb was really beautiful too, though. I mean, you work, but there's payoff. It's really beautiful. So.
Yeah. The climb, the forest, the fire didn't really. I mean, it got in there a little bit. There's a couple sections you'll go through that I assume that's from the Creek Fire. The Great Big Fire 5 years ago, but it could be from another fire, and I just never really paid that much attention to it. Now, once you go through on the long course, once you pass that SoCal meadow, that great big meadow, you're going to stay on that road for a few more miles, and before you would continue straight, but now we're going to be turning you to the right at there's a bridge there, so you don't want to cross the bridge. There'll be a sign there that you go off to the right, and that's going to take you past Nelder Grove. Nelder Grove is an area. It's actually closed now, but you're not going into Nelder Grove. You're going past Nelder Grove. bunch of giant, like the biggest tree in California, I think, is there. The second biggest one of these sequoias. It's huge, but beautiful area. It'll eventually get you back out onto Sky Ranch Road, the paved portion. You'll descend that for about a little less than a mile, and then there's a sign that says Bass Lake Vista Road to the left, and you take that, and that's kind of your last significant climb. It's that climb's, I think, about 2.5 miles. It's not very painful, not very steep. It'll actually start out in a downhill, but it's a nice climb. And then you'll get out to that canyon above Willow Creek, and you'll turn left. And wow, I just got a cramp. I think I was writing. You'll turn left, and you'll get out to Willow Creek there. Now, right along the creek, you'll know when you're there because you're on a bunch of granite. That's probably the most technical part of the ride. Maybe a couple hundred yards long that you're going along there. It's wide enough for a Jeep to get through there, but if you're a little, there's no railings there, so you're going to want to cheat to the left instead of to the right. The canyon is down to the right. Yeah, so that big wide area there.
There's big exposure there.
Yeah.
It looks like it.
But it's spectacular there. And even after that, when you get around that corner, it becomes more double track. I've gotten my Jeep through there, but it's chunky. There's going to be rocks stuck and stuff. So you got to pay attention to what you're doing. And then you'll go down and make that U-turn there. And you'll get back onto what was the original rest of the long gravel ride. So right where we turned you at that bridge, the Nelder Grove, and then this climb and that section of exposure there, that's the section we added. And then from there, once you make that U-turn, it's a gentle climb, maybe about a mile, but again, that's not a very painful climb on Grace Mountain Road. That's all dirt. It is a little chunky, so you got to, you're kind of steering around rocks or bouncing over rocks. But after that mile, it's flat or slightly downhill, and you'll get out to Basor Road, and that's where that's about the midpoint of that 13-mile climb, or in this case, downhill, that I've been talking about, Basor Road. It's a great downhill. Unfortunately, where we're coming in on the long gravel ride, you're below all the hairpin turns, which the hairpin turns can be good or bad, I guess. But there's 8 of them, so it's like our little Alpe d'Huez. But it's a fun downhill. That's for the Century Riders, that's just 13 miles of down. There's, I think there's one flat area where you kind of got to pedal, but it's all down. And then right at the end, as you get back down into Bass Lake and you're approaching Road 274, there is a series of back to back hairpins where there's no straightaway, in between them. It's painted on the asphalt. I'm going to probably put some sort of signage there to try to drive that home. We had somebody have a little problem there last year. So just be aware of that when you see that in the road, that those hairpins are going to be different than the other hairpins you dealt with at the top, because they're pretty sharp, and as soon as you come out of one, you're going into another one. So, and don't go obviously don't go on the opposite side of the road.
Yeah. Even if you're from the UK, not okay here.
Yeah.
And then, once you pretty much, do cross to, you're on 274 really briefly, and then you go around the lake, which is just gorgeous. And then, the rest stop at Miller's Landing. The lake is beautiful. It's a big distraction. You kind of want to go in it. That's the one thing.
And Vic, the rest stop is going to be equipped with athletic beer this year. It was last year at my expense, but they're a sponsor this year. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah,
I will indulge.
Yay. Yes, they'll be there. There'll be some at the venue. So, As a non-drinker myself, I
Well,
rate my rides on
gravel ride
the
is my
type of.
choice.
What's that?
The gravel ride is my choice for sure. Out
Yeah.
of these, I love being around that lake. That was just
Well, both rides go by the lake.
yeah, but I like the gravel.
Yeah, all the rides do now. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Vic and I, we're gonna have to hire an arbitrator. We'll figure it out. And then I then remember, the getting back into town is pretty easy. I didn't expect crossing that flume as we were coming in.
Now, speaking of that flume, so in order to get the numbers on the Century, since I changed that around, everyone told me that if you go the other way, you'll end up back at Town Hall with the same 100 miles. Well, when I drew it out, through Strava, it came up short. So as you come out of that flume, in about 1/8 of a mile, everyone turns left. So you're on Road 222 when you go into the flume, and then 222 makes that left. So you're kind of staying on the same road, but you're definitely making a left turn. Okay, but the 100 milers, in order to get the mileage, they're going to go straight, and that road will take them down to what all the locals call Bass Fork, which is Bass Lake North Fork Market, and that takes you back to the main road leading up into North Fork. So there's that little difference this year. The 100 milers are going to be going that way.
I almost feel like we're not too far from where we were in the Everyone Loves Raymond ride. Is probably not too far from here either.
Man, it's a solid hour drive.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that I plug it into the GPS, and it's like, it's not that far. And then I hit, go, and it's like, oh crap, it is a long way.
I guess Mammoth is closer.
Yeah.
And so then basically, meeting here at the town hall, plenty of parking. You guys are all ready. People can start any time that they like.
No. This year we've changed that. The year that you wrote it, that was it. Last year we had scheduled starts, and we're doing that again this year. And actually, new to this thing, even though this is a ride, I know myself, I'm a competitive person, and if a ride's got timing, as soon as I'm done, I'm glued to that board. I want to find my name, I want to find my age, and I want to look at everybody that's from 60 on up to see how I placed and how many of us there are. And my goal is to be in the top third or the top 50% at least of my age group. So we're offering that this year. There's going to be timing. You're going to ride through an arch with whatever the transponder thing is. The number plates are going to have the chips in them. And then when you'll finish, you'll do that, which will be great help, because every year we seem to have, a dozen riders that didn't check in. And so we're calling and calling people in the mountains. Sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. So we're trying to figure out if these people actually finished or if they're laying on the side of the road somewhere. So that's a new thing this year. We're going to see how that works. And there'll be a little award for the fastest male and female rider for the Century and the long gravel. That's going to really be the only recognition there is. But I encourage people to not treat it like a race. If you want to, I guess go for it, but don't lose your mind. The trophy's not that valuable.
Yeah, I think the beer.
Another thing we're doing is we're going to have some secret segments. So there's going to be a Strava segment I'm going to set up on the paved climb and on the gravel climb, that both the long and short gravel riders will be riding in, and the metric and the regular Century people will be riding in. There's not going to be a secret segment on the Loop the Lake, because I don't think those people care. No offense if people do, but most of them are just the they're dusting their bike off and they're coming out for a 25-mile ride. You know, so
I don't know. There could be some 40-mile specialists. You know.
And then we're also going to be doing I think I'm going to call it a selfie safari. So since this is the scenic byway, and they do kind of want you to stop and smell the roses and look around, we're going to ask that people try to take a selfie of themselves in front of the different points of interest along the scenic byway. So that would be Ross Cabin. So that's going to be where the first rest stop is, going up the Century. Ross Cabin, you've got Eagle's Beak, which is just a mountain. We're not going there, but it's in the background there. It's kind of an iconic thing. You know, if you look at it, all of a sudden you'll see these, definitely one eagle on the right, and there's another one. If you get a certain angle, that one looks like an eagle too. And then you'll go another mile or so and you'll look up and it went away. And it's just because now you're looking at a different angle. It's, the eagle's gone. Arch Rock, which is a pretty cool rock. And that's, again, right off the side of the road. So those folks that aren't into the racing thing, if they want to walk down this quick little trail, it's maybe a 45-second walk. Really cool, different kind of this long, skinny granite arch rock. Globe Rock, obviously. Jones Store. Jones Store is a kind of a country, what do you call it? They call it a store. It used to be like a pack station. Now they serve hamburgers and pie there. They're well known for their pie, but you got to get there early to get the pie. She makes one kind of pie. That's the kind of pie they have. You don't order pie there. You just, if she has pie, she'll sell you pie. Yeah, there you go. Look at you. I've only had pie there once. My neighbor makes phenomenal pie. And whenever we go to her house for dinner, she makes pie because she knows I love pie. And she gives me the pie to take home when we're done. You know, we cut out the 3 or 4 pieces and then I get the rest of it. So I've had the Jones Store pie. It's not as good, but it's still good pie. Everyone raves about it. So I'm hoping to do something with them that, you know, people can stop in there and ask for pie and that she will have it. She sells it. You can't take it to go. She's, you know, they had the soup Nazi on Seinfeld. She's the pie Nazi.
Wait, so you can't reverse engineer it?
You can't take it to go. You can't order it ahead of time. You got to be there. You got to eat it there.
Oh, wow.
So I'm hoping I can talk her into setting aside one piece of pie, that when all her other pies sold out, she's sitting on one piece of pie for a cyclist to come in and give the code word. And you know, so obviously the fastest person could hopefully get that piece of pie.
Good luck. Good luck.
Well, Henry seems to know 2 kinds of pie there. Pie or no pie?
No pie.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap up. It's been an hour. This is a lot of, well, I mean, it just tells you there's a lot to see over there. So
yeah, it's beautiful. And like I say, I love gravel riding, but the Century Ride is a good ride. So I don't know.
Okay, we're gonna have to figure this out. But
and you'll never see that. You'll never see the asphalt in your lifetime that nice again, other than that 1.4 miles.
and quickly, do prices go up after tonight?
Oh yeah, prices. That's right. So, I've got a discount code here for all of your members.
Okay.
So Grizz GBC 15 off. So capital G RIZ, no space. Capital GBC, all 3 of those letters capitalized. 15 off, which the price just went up today.
Okay.
So this will get you back down to yesterday's price. Right now, the long rides are $140. I think the short rides are $130, and then the third-party website registration, there's their fee factored into that. And for each one, it's like a percentage. So what would be 120 would end up being 129 or 123.48, whatever the percentage is. I don't worry about myself, I don't worry about that aspect of it. So I'm just talking about my price.
Okay, cool. Well, we've left the link on the bottom description here on YouTube for to sign up, and Vic and I will most likely be there. We may not be in concert for which ride we're going to ride, but we will reveal that. Maybe it may be like at those gender reveal parties. We will just have a course.
Those are bad.
Anyways,
it's a good. I'm telling you, that Century's a good ride.
Yeah. All right, Tony. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
and
thank you for having me.
Well, we're going to see you before that. All right. Take care, everyone.
All right. See you.
Bye.
Bye.